I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over. And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land. These weren't just the last words of Martin Luther King Jr. They were a spiritual testament, spoken just a day before his assassination. What might sound like a tragic premonition was, in fact, an unwavering vow. The light he carried throughout his life didn't just illuminate, it tore through the darkest corners of American history, especially the pervasive racism. But that light wasn't easily kindled. It had to penetrate layers of threats, imprisonment, and bloodshed. Indeed, every breath, every step he took during those years came at the cost of tears and his very life. The civil rights movement, led by Martin Luther King Jr., wasn't a violent revolution, but it was more fierce than any war. It was a battle of morality, conscience, and human dignity. Martin chose the path of nonviolence, yet in return, he faced extreme brutality from those stubbornly clinging to injustice. His home was bombed, an act of terrorism aimed at his family, but it didn't shake his resolve. He was arrested over 30 times, each imprisonment an opportunity to reflect, solidify his stance, and turn the jail cell into a platform for his ideas. The government also sought to frame, defame, and constantly surveil him, hoping to discredit a rising icon. Martin lived under the shadow of death every single day, not because he committed a crime, but simply because he dared to demand that America live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal and are endowed with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a simple call, yet it struck at the very core of power structures and prejudices that had existed for centuries. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested in Birmingham, Alabama, one of the most oppressive cities for Black people at the time. In a cold, confined cell, he penned a lengthy letter, later known as the Letter from Birmingham Jail. This wasn't just a personal letter, it was a forceful philosophical and moral declaration, refuting criticisms that he was too radical or a troublemaker. With words as sharp as a knife, cutting straight to the heart of America, he affirmed, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." This statement became a guiding principle for movements not only in the U.S., but worldwide. He also powerfully declared, "We can't wait any longer. The time is always right to do what is right." This was an urgent call to action, breaking through the procrastination and fear that had shackled Black people for generations. This letter, though written from a jail cell and without any weapon, became one of the most renowned moral manifestos of the 20th century, awakening the conscience of millions and serving as a foundational text for the civil rights movement. The greatest pain sometimes comes not from enemies, but from those who should have offered support. Martin Luther King Jr. not only faced racial segregation and violence from white extremists, he also endured loneliness and betrayal from within his own community. Many more radical Black groups criticized him as too weak, too mild, believing his nonviolent path wasn't potent enough to achieve change. Simultaneously, the government tirelessly sought to undermine him. They set him up, spread rumors of infidelity, and constantly monitored his private life to tarnish his image and weaken his influence. The relentless attacks from all sides often left Martin feeling exhausted. He once confessed, "There were still too many times when I knew I was yelling in the wilderness." It was the profound solitude of a leader bearing a heavy mission, yet misunderstood and attacked from every direction. However, he did not falter. He didn't fight to be loved or to please anyone. He fought for truth, for justice, and for an unyielding belief in human dignity. That was the deepest motivation that helped him overcome every challenge and never abandon his path. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. decided to go to Memphis, Tennessee, to support striking sanitation workers demanding basic rights. This was a highly symbolic act. demonstrating his solidarity not only with Black people, but also with the poor and oppressed of all races. He didn't have to go. He already had immense influence and a distinguished career. But his heart wouldn't allow him to turn his back on the poor and vulnerable. On the night of April 3, 1968, in his final speech known as "I've Been to the Mountaintop," he declared, "I've been to the mountaintop, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land." These words sounded like a prophetic farewell. Just one day later, on April 4, 1968, he was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. It was the tragic death of a symbol of peace, an ultimate sacrifice for his ideals. Martin Luther King Jr. passed away at just 39 years old, a truly unjust death for such a great man. But his life was a blazing torch, burning away all fear and illuminating the path for millions. He left behind no power or wealth. He built no material empire. What he left was love, extraordinary courage, and an unfinished dream of a just society where all people are judged by their character, not the color of their skin. How many of us dare to live a life like that? Are we living up to the ideals of justice and equality for which he fought? And more importantly, do we have the courage to continue his dream in our own time? Share your profound thoughts in the comments below. If you believe that the world still needs people like Martin Luther King Jr., beacons of justice and love, please like, subscribe, and share this video to help his story and legacy continue to inspire. Because the battle between light and shadow, between justice and injustice, is far from over.